Hey everybody, we're the Foo Fighters. Check out our new movie, Studio 666. Oh my God!
Dude has got one flew over the cuckoo's nest crazy.
Hell yes, I did. Get ready to laugh, scream, and headbang in your popcorn.
It's this place, man.
What do?
We go save it.
Studio 666.
Is the album almost done?
Yeah, it's killer.
Only in theaters. Now playing. Rated R.
And who else do we have here? We got $5,900. We got Noble Patrick, Simon Condon, the gorgeous Pam McSee, Bob Burkins. How are you, buddy? Go 66. Boo. Jenny, how are you, gorgeous? Mr. Lurks-a-lot, thanks for coming on in. The gorgeous and talented Kira. Enzo, what's happening? M. Coons, it's been a while. How you doing? Jesse Peak, good to see you, buddy. As we continue on with roll call, the gorgeous Aunt Edna. Stephen Edmond, good to see you. Drew Morris, thanks for coming on in. And will we have enough time? Ed Clater's here, the Ed Clater. Hi, George Almaraz, how are you, man? Media Fox, good to see you. Steve Wolf, always a pleasure. As we continue on with roll call, we're going to have enough time. I think we are. All right, let's see. Terry Brown, nice to have you here. Reptilian, what's happening? What's going on? Jazzy Small, welcome to SOR Chat. And who else do we have here? I don't know. Maybe we won't make it. It was that birthday song. That's what killed it. The birthday song, but it was so worth it. All right, 15 seconds. Can we do it? Can we do it? Boom, to gorgeous Bama. And I think that might be about it because we're caught up. We made it. All right, favor time. Horns up. Let's rock. From the mountains of central British Columbia to you listening around the world, this, my friends, is Spaced Out Radio. I am your host, Dave Scott, sitting in the captain's chair of SOR headquarters. We welcome you to tonight's show on our terrestrial affiliates around North America, digitally on TalkStream Live, Revolution Radio, and KPNL. All of our archives are free. Join us at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do me the favor, hit that subscribe button. You can follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on TikTok at Spaced Out Radio. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot. Read Shirky Poo's Newswire. Check out our swag as well. Tonight's show is brought to you by Chive Charities. Help make the world 10% happier by visiting Chive Charities today. You can find them on our website. Yeah, we have a great show for you tonight. Lon Strickler starts a new era of strange days with his cryptid adventures. Hour 3, we got another great story from the swamp, courtesy of Swamp Dweller. Fedora John is back with the UFO report. Shirky Poo's got the news and the thought of the Dave. Tonight, we begin a brand new era of Spaced Out Radio with strange days. And of course it is with heavy hearts, but we must always look forward. As our new monthly contributor, Lon Strickler, joins us from phantomsandmonsters.com. Of course, we do love having Lon here. He's an amazing and perfect fit to what we do and to take over from his best friend and ours, Butch Witkowski, whom we lost back on January 13th. Lon is no stranger to the cryptid world, and he's been chasing down monsters for almost 2 decades, including being at the forefront of all of these Mothman sightings around Chicago. He is the author of 9 books, which can be found on Amazon, and he also hosts a great podcast on YouTube called Phantoms and Monsters, which we encourage all of you to go and check out and hit that subscribe button. Lon Strickler, it's a pleasure to have you on Spaced Out Radio, my friend. Filling big shoes. I know you know that. I know that. And the fans know that. But if anybody could do it, it's you. How are you, my friend?
I'm doing okay. Thanks for having me, Dave.
Oh, this is just great. You know, a new era. I don't get a lot of new around here, man. How excited are you about joining the family here like this on a monthly basis?
Well, it's good to be here. I always like coming on with you, and this is perfect.
I think it's going to be great. It's going to be a good fit, and you know what? We're going to continue with the weird, amazing stories, maybe from a little bit of a different angle. I mean, let's face it, you're not as cranky as Butch. You're not. You're a little bit more lovable, but we'll figure it out. We'll figure out a way over time as we get used to each other on how to crank you up a little bit and get you a little frosty at times. That's what we need.
Well, we'll see.
Now, you are somebody who has been doing this a long time, and nothing really piques, bugs you anymore. Nothing really scares you anymore. I mean, from Mothman to Bigfoot to Dogman to ghosts and aliens and everything in between. For people who may not know a lot about you, Lon, who is Lon Strickler, and how much do you love this field?
Well, I was kind of born into it. I'm intuitive. I kind of cut my teeth on the paranormal when I was young. Didn't quite understand it at the time. Had some pretty interesting encounters when I was younger, especially I had one in Gettysburg, and when I was 9 years old. That kind of sealed the deal for me, where I knew there were some things that were different about me. But, I didn't really say much about it. I didn't, my parents didn't have any clue as to what was going on with me. When I was growing up in the late 60s when I had this encounter, the first time. So, I went through high school, and after I got out of high school in 76, I started doing paranormal investigations, which was, that was kind of, people thought you were crazy back there when you mentioned that to them. But word of mouth, I was just doing investigations of homes, personal investigations, businesses and such. I moved down to Maryland, lived down there for about 40 years. Had a Bigfoot encounter in 1981. Down in Sykesville, Maryland. Had a winged humanoid encounter in 1988 here in Pennsylvania, not far from where I live now. And then I was writing and investigating for certain people. I was actually contributing to some blogs down in Maryland when people talked me into doing my own blog. And in 2005, I started Phantoms of Monsters, and it's grown since. And, I've written 9 books, and I involved with the Phantoms of Monsters 14 research team, where we have 12 investigators currently and 25 affiliates. And we try to put boots on the ground for every case we get.
Some of the stories that you have followed over the years seem so crazy and so impossible to be real. Yet these are encounters that normal everyday people like you and me are having. They didn't want to see this. They didn't expect to see this. Lon, out of all the creatures that you have heard over the years, and there's been dozens, at any point have you drawn the line and just said, you know what, this doesn't sound very real to me? Have you ever had that happen?
Well, I have questioned a lot of these encounters early on in the investigations. But I'll be honest with you, I have dropped very few of them. It seems as time goes on, you keep working at it, you keep going into it and start following up on things. Usually you come up with something more interesting than what you originally thought was happening, which is what personally happened with this, what's going on in Chicago. We had no idea what was going on there.
Would I be?
And as time has, go ahead.
Would I be wrong in saying then that, the minute you get one sighting and you put it up there, all of a sudden, all of these people who've been silent for maybe months, years, decades, all of a sudden come and say, you know what? This person's telling the truth. I've actually seen this. I didn't want to be loud about it. I thought it was my imagination. It's made me sick to my stomach over the years. Is that kind of how it works?
Yeah. It's interesting because, like I said, I had this winged humanoid encounter in 1988. Had no idea what the hell I what I encountered, what I saw with two other people. I kind of likened it to the Mothman at Point Pleasant at the time, but it was different. And as time went on, I looked into the phenomena. Didn't really see a whole lot about it. Actually, I didn't go public with it for about 20 years later when I was on the blog. And when I did that, I started getting reports of people seeing the same thing on the same creek.
Really?
And then invariably, starting in 2011, and then more so starting in 2017, these sightings in Chicago, it turned out much of what we've been getting is very similar to what I had as far as the encounter. So, I mean, you explain that. I don't know. Was I predestined to get these reports to do work into this phenomena? I don't know, but it just seems that way.
It does seem that way indeed. I mean, and this kind of goes back to my question that nothing really shocks you anymore because you've been there, you've done that, you've heard all of these wacky, crazy stories that you've got multiple reports on. Out of all the creatures that you have dealt with over the years, and I know you're big on Mothman and the bipedal canines, but is there one out there that you just look at and you're like, how the hell could this thing be real? How could people be seeing this?
Well, you just mentioned those two, and those two are probably the most unbelievable, to be honest with you. I wouldn't want to come up, in front of one of those canines. I mean, I just, just from the descriptions that we get from witnesses, I wouldn't want to encounter one of these things. And, I mean, I don't mind. I'd see one at a distance, but I wouldn't want to be up close to it. It's not necessarily that they're aggressive, but they stand their ground, and they're quite frightening. I mean, just from what the descriptions we got. And but I'm honestly, you think about the big three, with the Bigfoot, upright canines, the winged humanoids. Then, of course, when you get involved with UFO and especially alien encounters and abductions, and I've been looking into that phenomena for over 30 years now, and I've actually had some strange encounters myself, and as well as to talk to people who were experiencers. Yeah, you're right. I kind of I don't really expect things to happen, but they just seem to happen.
Is there an area where we can expect more things to happen than others? I mean, Ohio always seems to have weirdness. West Virginia seems to have weirdness. British Columbia seems to have a lot of high strangeness. Do you look for patterns like that?
You do? Yeah, you do. I think... besides being in the Pacific Northwest, in the U.S., it seems like the what people call the Rust Belt seems to be the emerging area as far as a lot of phenomena. And I'm talking about Pennsylvania, Ohio, Indiana, Illinois, Michigan, and Wisconsin. They seem to. Those states seem to have a lot of overall activity, even going down as far south as Kentucky. I mean, it just seems to be the emerging area. Of course, we've always had a lot of strangeness in Florida and along the Gulf Coast over into Texas. But the Mid-Atlantic over into the upper Midwest seems to be the emerging areas now.
Is it a type of migration that we're seeing? Or people paying more attention?
I think it's people actually paying more attention and coming forth, being less apprehensive about reporting these sightings. Butch and I had always thought that there may be some type of migration involved with the upright canines. I don't know if that's the case. It very well could be. But I'm not really sure of that. We've talked about the Bigfoot possibly migrating in small areas, but I don't really see any real long distance migrating for these cryptids. Even if, I don't even know if these cryptids for the most part are indigenous beings. a lot of the sightings we get are fleeting sightings. Not a lot of evidence, physical evidence. I kind of go onto the side of possibility of these cryptids being ultra-terrestrial beings with the ability to come in between dimensions. I think that may very well be what's going on in Chicago and the areas around there. That these beings are ultra-terrestrial beings, and being able to come between our Earth plane and a linear dimension where they reside at. And I think that's, though we have no proof of that, I think more and more cryptozoologists and people that are involved with this, looking into these creatures, looking into these unknown beings, are starting to believe that, there's a lot of things we just don't know.
Lon, you are somebody who takes reports, and yet there's a lot of people in this field who want proof. Everything is about proof. Proof. You're just somebody who takes reports and follows up the reports. It's a lot different than those who are hammering a different agenda. For those who may not understand, and your critics who are out there will say, well, Lon never has proof. He just takes these reports. What's the difference between what you do and what other people are doing?
Well, I'm more hands-on with the actual experiencers. I take a lot of anecdotal evidence and work on that. I really go in deep with the experiencers themselves. Many times if it takes one of my team to go out and do a physical examination or investigation, well, then we'll do that. But no, I mean, getting a report and expecting to find physical evidence is it's kind of relative. I mean, sometimes you may get something, but you still really don't know if that is real evidence related to the cryptid that you're investigating. So I try to go deeper, as far as what the person saw, what they felt, other factors that may be involved with it, other paranormal or supernatural aspects to the report, to the incident. We spend a lot of time on a case. We, very rarely we just go in and talk to somebody and then that's it. We spend time, months on these things.
And I think that's good. I mean, you offer both. What do you think about this question? Because I've often asked this question to a number of people about proof. I mean, Lon, your proof is going to be different than mine. Ours is going to be different than the audience's and everybody else's who is researching in this field. So how are we supposed to know who has proof that is actually correct?
Well, that's just the thing. I make this perfectly clear when I do a report on the blog or some other means. I lay out there what we get and let the reader or the enthusiast determine for themselves what they believe is true or not. I can give some direction. I can give my own theories, but I think it's more important that the people reading the report get their own determination as to what it is. I mean, their theory may be 100% different than mine. I mean, that's fine. I don't care. That's fine with me. But I don't fudge on what I get. I put it all out there and let them determine what it is. That's basically the way we go about our investigations with our team.
You're just reporting the story. This is what's come to you. This is what you're putting out there. It sounds like it could be legit. We vetted that it's an actual human being who is writing this. And look, we're leaving it up to you, the audience, the reader, or whomever. Yeah.
Yeah, and I feel that's the best way of doing things. I mean, sure, we get some physical evidence, we're going to present that, photographs or whatever, even if we do have actual physical evidence. But that just very, very rarely happens. And you have to get a rapport with the people who are the experiencers, and talk to them, not just once, not just twice, continually talk to them if there are any questions or any discrepancies. See how they make the report, see if they expound on the report, and go from there. And, especially with what we've been doing in Chicago, there's been 3 of us who've been looking into this exclusively. We put it out there. Everything we get, we put out there and let everybody, take the evidence, take whatever we've gotten and make their own determination.
You have, over the last couple of decades, built quite a following regarding your research. Why do you think these people have jumped on the Lon Strickler bandwagon regarding phantoms and monsters?
I have no idea. No, I don't know. I guess, that's a hard question to answer. I just try to be real, and I think maybe some people appreciate that. If they contact me and ask a question, I'll tell them what I think about it. I'm not above doing that. That's why I'm trying to expand on the Phantoms and Monsters brand, especially with YouTube and a few other things. We got a few things coming up. I'm going to try to make these cases more accessible to the public, and hopefully, people will be able to see more and more as we go along.
I've always asked you what's your favorite ones to cover, your favorite monsters, but I've never asked you the opposite of that. What reports are you like, come on, like, this is just, I'm so sick of these.
Oh, God, I don't know. I'm really not a UFO guy. That was Butch's ilk. He would talk to me about a report. I'd get a report, and I get a lot of UFO reports. I'd call Butch, say, here you go. You're the man here.
Forged from the fusion of sweetness and heatness.
Translation: Wendy's new hot honey lineup is here, featuring a bold hot honey sauce on Wendy's chicken. Try the sandwich or breakfast biscuit today.
At participating U.S. Wendy's, hot honey chicken biscuit is only available during breakfast hour. To show you how easy it is to file a claim with Geico, we hired a scary movie victim.
Oh no, a tree fell on my car, and there's only one thing to do. Trip over my own feet and pull myself across the lawn while yelling help at a barely audible volume.
Sorry to interrupt, but you filed a claim with Geico, so you've got a designated claims team to help you.
This Geico sounds suspiciously reassuring. Are you sure I don't end up getting surprised with an unexpected twist?
Just that your Geico team will always be there to keep you updated.
No!
What is it?
Oh, nothing. I just didn't see that coming.
Geico. Great service without all the drama.
Gary, you look into this thing. I'm not really into the UFOs. I probably will be from now on because I took over U4 Cop. So, we're going to be doing this as a team, for what Butch did. Try to anyway. It's going to be not that easy to do, but and Butch, as time went on, after Butch and I met, he became more interested in cryptids, and of course, he blamed me for that, but he went ahead and did it anyway. And he got into the upright canines. That was just his niche, and he went along with it. But no, I think the UFO phenomenon is probably the one that, I just don't really understand the whole UFO phenomenon, what it is, other than a bunch of lights, and how can you determine unless you've got a craft runs right in front of you and the little green men come out. I get a lot of the alien reports, a lot of the abductions and such as that. But as far as craft go and what this phenomenon is, that hasn't really been my thing, but it probably will be from here on out.
You know what? For me, it's ghosts.
Oh
man, cannot stand. Like, I love the ghosts. I love the topic. I love going out there. But for me, Butch, it's the people of the paranormal have killed it for me. And there's good people
I agree.
there. But
when the whole when the whole paranormal TV thing started coming out with the ghost hunter stuff and all that, and I took a lot of that with a grain of salt, and I still do. There are a few shows I know the actual people who are involved and can trust them. But, it's something I have, I've been into clearings and spirit rescue for a long time. I'm a trained remote viewer. I incorporate that in the cases I've been involved with clearing and moving on. And, it may get boring or tiresome after a while because, look, it's not like it is on TV. When you're working a case, there are times you're there many, many, many times, never even get anything. And like say, one time you'll get something and you make a connection. But it is probably one of the most gratifying investigative things I do. When you're able to clear a home, remove an entity, and to know that you've helped somebody.
Lon Strickler's Strange Days on Spaced Out Radio. He's from phantomsandmonsters.com. We're going to get into some Phantoms and Monster stories when we return on Spaced Out Radio. That was an awesome half hour. Awesome half hour. Sweet. I'm happy with that.
I'm glad you're happy, man.
See, for me, it's the ghost hunters themselves.
Yeah.
And if I didn't like monsters so much, like the cryptid world, I'd probably feel the same way about the cryptid world too.
Well, that's all I did for a long time. Of course, until I had my encounter, I went on. But I have worked some pretty crazy cases as far as spirit energy and infestations over the years. And there have been cases I've been on for almost a decade, working with people. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, and it's but no, that's the one thing the biggest gratification I've gotten out of the paranormal is when I do a case like that. I'm able to connect with an energy and move it on, and that is really gratifying.
I can see where that would be. Mm-hmm. I can totally see it, and I don't want to sound like I'm misplaying that at all, because mm-hmm. I don't think I am. But I just look at the buffoons in this field, man. Like, like I like to make fun of it like this. Like when I go to a team's website and I see there's always this guy.
Yeah.
The team skeptic, he's always posed like this. Like, yeah. Come on. Immediately right there, I know, no, this isn't a team I'm bringing on.
Yeah. I'll be honest with you. I am hesitant bringing team paranormal ghost hunters on my show too. I really am. And the reason why, and I'll be honest with you, I can really tell when they're bullshitting.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
I can pick it up. And when I started doing radio early on, and Eric and Sean will tell you, I would just, if I knew they were full of it, I would just cut off and let those two take it, because I would tell them, look, I can't stand any more of this. It's crazy.
Well, I learned early on in 2015 when we weren't even a year old, mm-hmm. and it seemed like every time I had a scheduling problem, 9 times out of 10, it was a UFO, a paranormal team who stated that they were coming on, and then all of a sudden, like come showtime, couldn't get a hold of them.
Happens all the time.
Yeah.
Happens all the time, and I don't know why it is, but that's true. I don't know why that is, but that's true.
Yeah.
Happens to me, too.
Yeah, so I stopped.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, that's the God's honest truth. You're telling the truth there, because I don't know.
Yeah. So,
and honestly, I do bring some people on that are talking ghost hunting and clearing and stuff, and that's when the gremlins start showing up in the radio show too, because I have all kinds of technical problems, and a lot. I kind of attribute that to me, because that happens to me when I have done some shows in the past with other people. You know, when I was a guest on shows. So, yeah.
Oh yeah, it's I just don't do that. Oh, awesome comment of the night. Does Lon have an OnlyFans? I'd sub for sure.
Yeah, that's a good one.
That is awesome. That is awesome.
That's funny.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Oh, man. That is good. Oh, we got about 45 seconds.
Okay.
Want to say a big thank you to Tim and Ed for the awesome super chats tonight. Thank you so much for your love and support of Spaced Out Radio. We really do appreciate it. Hey, don't forget, Lynn Wallington has a brand new channel, YouTube channel called Rebellious Ufology. Make sure you go hit subscribe on that. We want to make sure that we support her. No, she's not leaving SOR. She's just expanding her own game, which we totally support. So head to that as well. Here we go. Second half hour of Spaced Out Radio is now underway. My name is Dave Scott. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us. We really do appreciate it. Want to remind you that if you've missed portions of this show or others, do us a favor and check out our free archives at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do me the favor, hit that subscribe button. Our website is spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read Shirky Poo's News Wire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, as well as on TikTok at Spaced Out Radio. We continue on tonight with Strange Days from phantomsandmonsters.com. Lon Strickler is here, and we're going to start talking some monsters right off the bat. Lon, welcome back.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Dave.
You recently...
Great to be here.
Oh, we love it when you're here, man. Absolutely love it. I love reading your reports that come into Phantoms and Monsters on a daily basis, and I'm actually quite blessed because each day on my Facebook feed, one of your Phantoms and Monsters stories pops right up. And this one really intrigued me here, and I needed to ask you about this one. All right, because this one you just took a report on from South Dakota near Mount Rushmore, where a family had their daughter disappear, but a Bigfoot showed her the way back home?
Yeah, that's what she said. I mean, I didn't talk to her personally. It was sent to me by someone else. But they swear that's what her story was. You know, it's really not that unusual. There have been cases when kids would get lost out in the boonies, and later on when they're found, someone would say, "Yeah," the kid would say, "You know, this big hairy man helped me," or this and that. I know of one case in not too long down North Carolina that happened. That I knew of another one that happened up in Washington State as well. So it's not out of the question, but yeah, I guess it does happen.
So I'm just going to read a little bit of their report, excuse me, that came in. It says, when I was around 7 years old, my family took a trip to South Dakota to see Mount Rushmore. We got a cabin in the very back of the property, for the one we reserved wasn't available. The family that had reserved the cabin before us extended their stay, so we had to take the only one available. And it goes on to say, over the next few days, some strange things happened, like we came back from an outing and all the cereal boxes we had brought were out on the front lawn. Another strange thing that happened, we came back from the pool, and all of our shoes were in the bathtub with the water running all over them. Now, this moves on as the story carries over. She talks about how she came in contact with this Sasquatch, and it was pretty tall, at about 8 feet, well camouflaged. He was black and dark green color, fully covered in hair. They had several minutes of uninterrupted eye contact until he looked up to the direction that would have been slightly to his left. I wiped my eyes, she says. What does that mean? What are you telling me? He looked down at me and raised his arm and pointed in the same direction, like that was the direction she was supposed to go. I mean, when you hear something like that, Lon, I mean, as a child, how would you not be, frightened out of your life and be able to just take direction from a Sasquatch?
I don't know, but it's interesting how kids describe these types of encounters. And, when I was talking about doing haunting cases and such, I have encountered a lot of cases with families where kids were involved. And it's interesting when you talk to them and they tell you what they encounter and what they see and how they respond to it. I'd say 9 times out of 10, they're cool about it compared to the parents, because they're unadulterated. They don't really know any better. Even at 7 years old, which seems to be a more advanced age, where a kid would probably understand what it was she encountered. I think they take things with a less alarming view. And she was scared anyway because she was out there by herself. I think she appreciated any help that she had coming her way. And, it seemed like this big fellow wanted to help her, and that's what happened.
Why do we hear sometimes with this creature, according to reports like David Paulides or others who are looking into the missing people phenomena, that this creature may be kidnapping people, and yet there seems to be some that want to help humans?
I've had several cases where they've helped humans. I had a case in New Mexico not too long ago where a indigenous lady was telling me about an encounter she had when she was just a kid. She was home by herself, and she was supposed to stay in the house, but she went out, and she was barefoot walking outside the house. There was an old store behind their house, and she used to go up there and play on the porch. And as she was up there, she stepped on a huge splinter and got in her foot. And as she was sitting there crying, wondering what she was going to do, this Bigfoot must have heard her and kind of come up to her and helped her. He actually picked her up and carried her back to the house and set her on the steps and took back off back into the brush. But she told me that she didn't know how to tell her parents about what had happened. And I don't think she ever did, be honest with you, but maybe 20 years later, she contacts me and tells me about it. But I've heard a lot of cases like that. And it's normally people who have been, younger people who have gotten into some bind where they're hurt or whatever. I had an incident reported to me where a lady was attacked by a man out in the woods. I think they were probably out there camping or such, and they had an argument. He started beating on her, and this Bigfoot literally came to the rescue. And he carried her about 25 miles towards a town, and protected her the whole way there.
Really?
Absolutely. And that was in, I don't remember where that was now. It was somewhere out west. I don't know exactly where, but yeah, I've heard things like that. So yeah, I mean, there are cases where this does happen. And, you kind of, when you get these cases, especially with me, if it's sent into me, I'm on the horn with the witnesses, and trying to question them personally to see what the real deal is. And that woman in particular, she just literally cried while I was talking to her because she believed that Bigfoot saved her life.
That is totally unreal. It is unreal. Do you believe, though, that, and I look at Bigfoot much like I do orca whales, where you have the main pod. The main pod, if you wanted to, if you were crazy enough, you could jump in with the main pod and swim with them. The chances of you being attacked or something along those lines are slim to none unless you get close to a small one. Okay, but there's these rogue pods out there that will literally kill anything that comes in their way. They've been kicked out of their main pods. They've come together. They're more violent. They're more uncontrollable, harder to predict what their actions are. Do you see that with Sasquatch as well?
Occasionally. You hear a lot of different encounter reports. The ones where it seems that they become more aggressive and is in a hunting situation where someone would walk into an area and disrupt their hunting. They say they're there stalking deer or some other animal, and they disrupt that. Well, you're taking food out of their mouth, and they're going to be a little upset about it. I've heard people say that they've gotten a little threatening. Not that they did any physical harm, but they could tell they were upset about it. I've heard plenty of stories where hunters or people camping would go into a territory where they were probably invading what these Bigfoot deemed as their own territory, and they would do things to try to move them on. There was one account. Late J.C. Johnson and David Weatherly were telling me about up in Arizona, up in the highlands. I guess it's the Chuska Mountains area, where they had set up camp, and they had literally a group of Bigfoot, call them a pod, I don't know what it was, that were at first throwing pine cones at them at night to keep them awake. I guess when they didn't respond, they started throwing stones and branches at them, at the tents, until JC walked out with an AK, and I think that would stopped it. He didn't shoot at anything, but I just don't think you got enough sleep at night. But no, yeah, David told me the story as well, so it does happen.
Really? So how do you defend against that? How do you know? Because I know up here in British Columbia, let me expand on that for a second. I know up here in British Columbia, there are a number of First Nations over the decades who have said, to their younger women, do not go out alone after dusk. There's a chance you will become a Sasquatch wife. And we've seen missing people all over. It doesn't matter whether it's the Highway of Tears, where we can't downplay that and blame Sasquatch. We do have to admit, there is proof there is, a number of one or more serial killers driving that highway. But there are, other people, like down in the Chehalis area, where the Harrison Hot Springs, where there's a lot of Sasquatch encounters around there. I mean, the Chehalis would tell their young ladies anytime after dusk, do not go outside alone. You may not come back.
Yeah, I've heard the same thing from indigenous folks.
Finding the right person for the job isn't easy. Just ask someone who hired their personal trainer as a caterer.
All right, folks, let's keep this line moving. You there with the tongs. Picking up one Duchess potato at a time will not cut it at my catering table. Drop and give me 50.
But if you've got an insurance question, you can always count on your local Geico agent. They can bundle your policies, which could save you hundreds.
Okay, this is what we call the wild mushroom and asparagus dip, and press. Come on, let's get those plates above your heads.
For expert help with all your insurance needs, visit geico.com/local today.
Hey everybody, we're the Foo Fighters. Check out our new movie Studio 666.
Oh my God! Dude has got One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest crazy.
Yes, I did.
Studio 666. Only in theaters. Now playing. Rated R.
Even those that lived out in the Navajo reservation, the Dene Navajo, they don't like the idea of their young ladies staying out late at night. But I have heard, in British Columbia and the Highway of Tears, I do believe some of those cases could have very well been Sasquatch abductions.
I was told by a First Nations friend of mine that they believe that about 20 to 25, maybe 30% of them have been Sasquatch related. Now,
very well could be.
And once again, when we say that, we're not downplaying the severity of the horrific atrocities to First Nations women up there. We're not at all. We're just going by what we have been told, what I have been told by First Nations friends in this area and where I used to live.
Yeah, I think many of us folks who investigate Bigfoot will hear these stories where and it's mostly First Nations will tell you about this, that they believe that one of their young ladies was abducted and taken hostage or whatever. Because I'll be honest with you, I don't know, maybe one instance where a woman came back and said that she was actually taken by one of these things. I mean, do you think they're taken and either killed or kept with them forever or what? I don't know. But many of them do believe that's the case.
No, I totally agree with you. I mean, we just don't know. That's the problem. Mm-hmm. We just don't know as we move on. Let's go to another story here. You had a story come out just yesterday about some sort of aquatic creature at Cabo San Lucas. See, Lon, this is another reason why I tell my listeners, don't go into the ocean. All right? This is what happens. You go into the ocean, something out there, whether it's a great white, a bull shark, sea monsters that are green and slimy, are going to come get you, and it's not going to be a good day.
Yeah, that instance there, that came directly from the witness himself. He was down in Cabo several years ago at a bachelor party for his brother-in-law, I think. I don't know, whoever it was, but they got all tanked up and decided they were going to go out on a fishing charter. And as he was sobering up, they were out. I don't know how far they were out, but they must have been out pretty far. And he saw this thing, and then he made the reference as to the Hoovelman picture and description of this being from many, many decades ago. And some of the older cases too is something very similar. He said it was kind of greenish in color. The head was sticking out, and the fins were out above the water. I think it could have very possibly been a manta ray. But to be honest with you, normally they're in large pods or schools when they start moving. So I don't know if there was a rogue manta ray or what it was, but he seemed to think it wasn't. He seemed to think it was something different. So I don't know what he encountered, what he saw.
See, I agree with Bad Comic Reviews in our chat room here. The ocean is full of sea roaches and things that eat people. There's just no reason to go into the ocean. No reason whatsoever. You just die. Everything wants to kill you or eat you. It doesn't matter how big or small. It's just out there to kill. That's it. You know? I don't get it.
Yeah. Well, we get a few strange ones, mermaid tails and other things out there, and very rarely we get a killer creature. But when we get into some of the older accounts of from the old sea captains and sailors and the attack by the kraken and other things like that, some of those are pretty interesting. I think a lot of them are embellished, but there are big things out there we don't know about, I think.
Oh, yeah. Well, did you ever hear the story a number of years ago about the Disneyland cruise line that had a sea monster collide with it? And apparently it had the body of a whale with the head like an alligator, and it was the guy who saw it had been part of that crew for a number of years. He was quite a leader. And he was just happened to be outside for a cigarette, and he said it was about 50 feet long, and he'd seen all sorts of whales over his time at sea, and this was nothing like he ever saw before. I mean, this is the kind of stuff, Lon, that just, I'm going to be honest with you, it keeps me up at night. It keeps me up at night. Lon, I'm going to tell you, I don't even go to Universal Studios because when you take the tour and you got to drive through the Jaws section, and Jaws comes up to try and grab you, that's a giant nope for me. That's nope.
Not my bag.
Nope. Just not there. Just stay away from the ocean, people. I think Lon agrees with me. Stay away from the ocean. Nothing good comes out of the ocean. All right? And let's continue on here. I want to get one more in here before we go to the hour. We got about 4 minutes left. This report from a few days ago about a dark, blurry figure in Pembrokeshire, Wales.
Mm-hmm.
What happened there?
I don't know what they saw. There were 3 sightings of something that had been crossing a nearby highway in this town in Pembrokeshire in southern Wales. I don't know what it was. Was it a spirit energy, or was it what people call a shadow person? Was it even a cryptid? I don't know. But I went back and tried to index other similar sightings, but I couldn't find anything from that area. So there really wasn't an explanation as to what it was. But, these things come in multiples many times. And I kind of believe it was probably a shadow being for whatever reason that was showing up, some type of residual. Though it was in different parts of the road. One was north of town, one was south of town. So.
When you hear of reports like that, I mean, you have enough paranormal experience to figure out whether that would be a spirit that was caught or whether that was some sort of different type of deity or entity. What do you think?
I think it was probably residual energy, something that just had the right conditions to where it was seen. It does happen. I live near Gettysburg Battlefield. You get a lot of the sightings on the battlefield are residual. In other words, it's almost like the energy is imprinted on the location, the geography, and it just keeps showing up here and there. It doesn't show up all the time. If the conditions are right, it usually will show up. And I've seen several apparitions that have shown up at different times for years out there. And, it's funny because they had one out there around a cannon, which was up off of Hex Mill Road. And I've seen that thing before. I'd seen that thing 10 years ago. And, they're making a big deal out of it in the press. But it's a Southern artillery soldier that keeps showing up where in these these cannons are not the actual cannons, but it shows up where the artillery were set up at. It was actually part of General Rhodes' artillery in the CSA. So, yeah, it does show up, and that happens a lot out there.
It really does. And, the hauntings are a lot more frequent than what we think, aren't they? I believe they are.
Can't hear you, Dave.
Oh, I'm sorry. The hauntings are a lot more frequent than what we think, aren't they?
Oh yeah. Especially there. I mean, you got a town there that was just inundated with a lot of tragedy. Everything's imprinted, and yeah, it's everywhere. But honestly, even in the town I live in now, it's an area I grew up when I was a kid. Hauntings are pretty pervasive. So, yeah.
What makes a haunting, like to use your word, as we got about 40 seconds here, pervasive and uncomfortable?
Well, it's especially if it's an earthbound. It doesn't know why it's there. The energy doesn't know why it's there. It's not residual. And it tries to get the attention of whoever's there. And in the process of getting the attention, it makes noises and does things where it scares the individual. And that's basically a haunting. That's usually what happens in those cases.
Well, Lon, I'm going to get you to hold on right there because we are going to go to break here at the top of the hour. Strange Days with Lon Strickler from phantomsandmonsters.com is continuing here tonight. Lon is, of course, an author of 9 books. They can all be found on Amazon. We highly suggest that you check them on out and add them to your library. And, of course, more monster stories along with your questions when we return with Lon Strickler for hour number 2 of Spaced Out Radio next. I'm just going to step out and take my dog outside. He's getting a little rambunctious here, so that usually means that it's that time. I'll be right back.
Okay.
Sorry about that, boss.
All right.
Dog took longer than I thought. All right. Hi, Joey, Matthew Anderson. Thanks for coming on in. Sensational Sherry, thanks for joining us. And who else is new that's popped on in here in the last few seconds? The gorgeous Stephanie Jackson just got home from the gym. Yeah, I'm tired just that you worked out. I'm beat now. Oh, that was a good workout. Good, solid workout. All right. Thank you, Michael Gutierrez, for an awesome super chat, along with Ed and Tim. Thank you so much. The super chat is a wonderful way to support what we do on this show on a nightly basis, so thank you so much. Really appreciate it. And we're having a good time tonight with Lon Strickler. Hey, don't forget, everybody, Lynn Wallington is expanding her little franchise. Yeah, she's going to continue on with Spaced Out Weekends, and she also has her brand new channel called Rebellious Ufology. I highly suggest that you go on over and click subscribe on that. I will grab the link here for you, because we all love Lynn, and she needs our love over there too. And let me grab it here for you. Here's her link. It's in the chat room right now. Greatly appreciate if you all subscribe to that, and I'll put up the link to Canada's Great Unknown as well. If you wouldn't mind hitting up my new channel, I would appreciate it. Here we go.
You're listening to Spaced Out Radio with Dave Scott. Follow Dave on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio and on Facebook, Spaced Out Radio Show.
Let's do this thing. It's hour number 2 of Spaced Out Radio tonight. My name is Dave Scott. Thank you so much for taking the time to go and join us. We really do appreciate earning your listening ears wherever you are on this beautiful planet we call Earth. Hi to everyone listening in on our terrestrial affiliates around North America, digitally on TalkStream Live, Revolution Radio, and KPNL. All of our archives are free. Join us at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do old Davey the favor, hit that subscribe button. The Desert Clam has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club, and the password is Ukraine. Ukraine is your password. Use it wisely, space travelers, as the Clam sets the password each and every night right here on Spaced Out Radio. Our website is spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you, including rocking out to Bumblefoot, reading Shirky Poo's Newswire, checking out our swag as well. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio. Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on TikTok at Spaced Out Radio. We continue on tonight with Strange Days with Lon Strickler. Yes, he is taking over the Monday slot, as we love to have Lon around here and filling in for the big shoes left by the departed Butch Witkowski. Lon's website is phantomsandmonsters.com. He is one of the best when it comes to taking reports of all things strange. Lon, welcome back.
Hey, Dave. Great to be here.
We should also mention, Lon has 9 books out, 9 of them. You can get them all on Amazon. They're great to add for your own personal cryptid collection as well. And so, Lon, you know what? We're going through a bunch of these stories, man, that you have on phantomsandmonsters.com, and some of them are absolutely incredible. And I know that you're not, you take these reports and you kind of let people understand and figure them out for yourselves. But this one really, really got to be recently, man, because we have heard so much about this, whether or not there are giants in the Kandahar province of Afghanistan. You actually got a report on one.
Yeah, that that story has been going around for a long time. It was in the Kandahar province where I don't know exactly why this patrol was out there, but they swear that they encountered this huge red-haired giant that literally killed one of the soldiers with a spear. The image that I have on the website, on the blog, was from a piece of art of the incident. I've seen several renditions of it, but apparently when this occurred,
no, not now.
That sounds like it's gonna cost you.
I know what to do. I'm going to CashNetUSA.com. I can apply in minutes, get an instant decision, and if approved, I could have the money in my account as soon as the same business day.
When you need money fast, be the hero. Go to CashNetUSA.com to apply for the money you need now. The exact timing as to when your loan funds will be available will be determined by your banking institution.
Today, what business needs most is creativity. So let's create AI with integrity, not bias. Security that hunts for threats in the wild. Cloud management that requires less management. And new ways for business to do business. Let's create, at scale, right now, together. Let's prototype, let's tweak, let's test, let's adapt. Let's create something that changes everything. IBM. Let's create. Learn more at IBM.com.
After he had killed a soldier, the rest of the patrol took him down, shot him, killed him. And they called in a helicopter that dropped a huge pallet down. They put this thing on the pallet, lifted it up, and took off. I haven't really heard anything else beyond that. What I will tell you is that I've had a lot of strange reports come out of Afghanistan over the years. That Kandahar province in particular, some of the northeastern provinces. There were up in the mountains. There have been a few things that people have seen, even upright canines. So yeah, it's a pretty strange stories out there.
Did you ever hear Jody Cook from the North American Dog Band Project's report on the these Anubis type of dogmen that were all with armor and with these scythe-like swords?
I've heard it. Yeah.
That report came in from a gentleman who was listening to this show with Jody on it. And then it followed up with another report from someone else who was confirming the original report.
And it wouldn't surprise me. It's interesting. A lot of times when we get these reports of canine creatures, a lot of them have to do with the Anubis, looking like the Anubis deity. the jackal deity from Egypt, Egyptian lore. I don't know why that is. Is it a relic? Is it, something dimensional? I don't know. But, that reference does come up at times.
Wow. Why do you think there's giants still in the middle of nowhere in Afghanistan?
I don't know. I'm not really into the giant lore. I mean, there have been a lot of claims over time, even here in the United States. It's interesting when you get a bunch of soldiers mention something about it and swear they took this thing out and that it actually killed one of their comrades. That makes it a little more believable. I don't know how to take a lot of these giant incidents as being fact. Many times there seem to be contrived, but I don't know. I mean, if I ever see evidence to where I believe it's true, yeah, I'll look into it. But, to this point, I really haven't seen a whole lot.
All right, let's move on to some questions here as they're starting to compile here for us. Let's start off with Nicola here. Lon, since you do a lot of paranormal, ghosts, and evil things, have you ever had an attachment?
Mm-hmm. I actually had an attachment removed not long ago. It was something that was attached to me back in the 80s from a case I did. It was a female entity. I didn't know anything about it. And one of my team saw it on me. She's psychic and very intuitive. And I carried this thing for almost 35 years. And she removed it. And it was almost like, I tell you, after she removed it, it was just like I deflated. I was gone for 24 hours. I couldn't even move. I sat in my chair for 24 hours, couldn't do anything. So she definitely did something. She definitely removed something. But yeah, she explained it to me and what it was. And yeah, it's something that I encountered many, many years ago that I didn't even know I picked anything up from it. It was a case I was involved with.
How do you know if you have something attached to you?
A lot of times you don't. I have been involved with hauntings and infestations where you just think that's what you're going into. You're going into something that's hanging around a home or a location, and it turns out the person itself has actually got an attachment, or not a possession, but something that's oppression or something. But it's usually an attachment of a spirit energy. It's not always malevolent. In fact, very rarely it's malevolent. It's just something that has found you as a host. It's earthbound, and it has found its way to you. And if it's not bothering you, or you don't think it's bothering you, it's kind of hard to know that it's there unless somebody picks up on it or it starts causing issues, and then they may find out that's what it is.
All right, let's go to 7 Ravenwolf. Lon, have you any knowledge of crystal cities under Mount Shasta or other places?
You hear a lot about that. You hear about the Lemurian crystal cities and this and that. I don't know how to really take that. I know a few people who swear by it. I know a few other people who believe that there's a population of huge Bigfoot that live on Mount Shasta. But there are a lot of esoteric tales about the location. But yeah, that Crystal City is one of them. I don't necessarily know where or why that is part of the lore of the mountain, but I do know people that swear it's there.
All right, let's go to Fairy Finder. Lon, have you ever murdered a monster?
I'm happy to say I didn't.
Have you ever gotten physical contact with one?
No.
All right, let's go to the Michael Leger, who is the creator of the gnome on my desk. And he is asking, Lon, what's your scariest encounter of all time?
Probably the winged humanoid encounter. Yeah, that's probably... That was least understood at the time. It was kind of unexpected. We weren't really looking for it. And I know it scared the living crap out of my friend. I was probably more shocked than scared, but I really, after that happened, I got curious. I wanted to know what we were dealing with. But like I said, it's very similar to what people have been seeing in Chicago.
That just still trips me out. Still trips me out. I'm curious in regards to the Mothman. We might as well get a quick update here. I mean, for a while there, these stories seem to come and go in ebb and flow. Has there been a lot of action with the sightings around the Mothman in Chicago recently?
It's been pretty sparse, but we've had most of the sightings continue out at O'Hara. It's not as heavy as it has been, but I don't know what the reason is behind it. Is because of the weather and less people are noticing it. I do know that the last real sighting we had out there was an incident where these 3 cargo workers saw this thing and actually started videotaping it, well, digitally recording it on their phones. And their supervisors in TSA made them erase all of it. It's too bad they didn't get it uploaded on the cloud, but these guys were really scared. They thought they were going to lose their jobs. But later on, one of them did come forward and tell us what happened. But those 3 beings, from what I understand in the description we got, may very well have been something much different than what we've been dealing with in the past out of O'Hara. So I don't know.
All right, I'm going to go jump Steven's question here because Duke from World Bigfoot Radio kind of has a follow-up to this. He goes, what do you think of the theory that the Chicago Mothman is actually a sandhill crane?
It's very possible that a sighting or two may have been a sandhill crane, a misidentification, could even have been a blue heron. But just based on the size, the characteristics, the way it flies, I'm more than positive that these were not misidentifications for the most part. We've had over 140 sightings that we believe were legitimate, and if we have any inkling that it's an unidentified bird or something, we're not even going to report that. We're getting way too many reports, too many encounters, close encounters with these things, that there's no way they're birds.
Have you ever seen a sandhill crane?
Yes, I have.
They're massive.
Yeah, they are big.
I didn't even know they existed. And one day we were up here checking out, we have this beautiful lake called Valentine Lake. It's got that crystal greenish blue water.
Mm-hmm.
And we came out of the campsite and we started going down the logging road because we were doing a little bit of investigation for Sasquatch. And we turned up this road beside the lake, and there were 2 of them standing there. And I was looking at them, and I'm like, what the hell are these things? Like, I couldn't believe a 6-foot bird standing there. Mm-hmm. And then when the wingspan is close to condor size, I mean, when these things took off, I mean, they looked like a C5 Galaxy. It took them forever to get up into altitude.
Yeah, they're big. And they also have a red ring around their eyes, too. The fact that their necks are so long and accounts for most of their height, and many times these wing structures that were reported are like membrane wings, like a bat or so. I don't think that's what people are seeing. But, I will admit that maybe some of the sightings that we decided not to look into may have been sandhill crane or a blue heron.
Right. All right, let's move on to Steven's question. Have you ever been pushed by a ghost?
Yeah. I've had a few tussles with them.
What's that like?
Well, it's usually out of the blue, and usually it's from behind. But I've had them try to push me down a stair or two, or try to trip me up or something. But no, and I've witnessed people literally be pushed to the ground by these things. If it's malevolent enough, and it's trying, or even if it's trying to get your attention and doesn't know its own strength, it'll do that. But I have had a few encounters, and in fact, when I do a remote view, when I've done cases, especially overseas, I've done cases. I have literally had psychic attacks at long distance. So there have been times I had a laceration. I was doing a case and received a laceration from my sternum down to my belly button one time, and another psychic attack resulted in bruised ribs, in which I had to go to the hospital.
Wow.
Yeah.
How do you explain that to the doctor? What happened?
You don't.
I was attacked by a ghost.
Yeah, you don't.
No
that case,
kidding.
I didn't say a thing. I just said I fell.
Yeah, no kidding.
Yeah.
No kidding whatsoever. All right, let's get to Gloria's question here. She would like to ask you, Lon, as we got about 5.5 minutes left before the break at the bottom of the hour, who or what do you think Indrid Cold is or was?
That's an interesting story. The Woody Derenberger story. His daughter swears that it happened. This being or man by the name of Indrid Cold came from another planet, had friends that accompanied him here, had a family that lived here with him. Her father had the encounter up in West Virginia of this being called Indrid Cold, the grinning man, that came out of a saucer-like craft that landed in front of him. I've had people in later years describe getting text messages and telephone calls from some people calling themselves Indrid Cold, though I don't know if it's true or not. I had one of these encounters happen in association with a winged humanoid sighting up in Hartwick, New York. An associate of mine actually went up there and investigated it, and there's a lot of strange things that went up to that house. But she swears she had 2 encounters with this winged humanoid and received a text and then a phone call when her caller ID came up, Indrid Cold. And when she answered the phone, the guy on the other side of the call, and this was like 10 minutes after her encounter, told her, "Do not tell anybody about your encounter." How do you explain that? I don't know. I mean, I have talked to Dr. Raymond Keller, who's a friend of mine. He's probably the most interesting ufologist I know of, and he's very, very into the subject. He believes Indrid Cold is real and actually still exists. So who knows what's going on with that?
For people who may not be familiar with Indrid Cold, how would you describe this entity, ghost, alien, demonic? How would you describe it?
Alien, extraterrestrial, ultra-terrestrial, anything. It could be all the above. I mean, I believe there's a possibility of some type of being who's calling himself Indrid Cold. Could it be a non-human? Yeah, sure. Absolutely.
Yeah, I just don't know. I mean, do you think he's still around? Do you think he's still here?
I don't know. I've had people tell me they believe he's here. People who have been involved with, ufology since the 60s and before, who believe the whole story and the actual encounter and the subsequent encounters, and that this being may still be around, maybe still living among us. Some people believe it's a government agent. Some believe it's an extraterrestrial. I don't know what to think it is. I have no idea. The interesting thing is it happened around the same time of the Mothman sightings down at Point Pleasant in the late 60s. And many people do associate it with those sightings, though I really don't. I don't know if it's related or not. Though Ray does think it's related to the Mothman sightings, so who knows?
Well, I know that during the Hellier expedition, they believed that it was getting into Indrid Cold territory as well. And I know Alan Greenfield, who's going to be a guest on this show, Secret Cipher UFO Knots, is also, believing that Indrid Cold exists as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, it very well could be. I really don't know. All I can do is, report what's been told to me and what I've read and what I've found in research over the years. I really don't know what this being is.
Well, I have one other question for you. We got about a minute left here.
Mm-hmm.
With Indrid Cold, a lot of people state that if you say his name too much, that it's almost like summoning him, and all of a sudden his energy or his spirit or whatever will show up where you are. Have you ever bought into that fairy tale?
Not necessarily. I've talked about him a lot myself, and I've never had anything happen to me, or see anything. So I don't know. Maybe some people it has, but I don't know.
Well, it was worth the shot.
Okay.
It was worth the shot. I had to ask. Lon, I'm going to get you to hold on right there because there's only about 15 seconds left, and there's really no point in asking another question, but I do know we have more audience questions to go with you tonight. Lon Strickler's Strange Days. Lon joins us from phantomsandmonsters.com, and I highly suggest you go over to his YouTube channel and hit subscribe there. It is a community thing. We love Phantoms and Monsters around here, and we love all of our supporters on YouTube and around the world to go onto YouTube and hit that subscribe button on Phantoms and Monsters podcast that Lon hosts. You can find 9 of his books on Amazon.com. Lon Strickler's Strange Days has the final half hour coming up right after this. That half hour flew by.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Hi, Kason. How you doing in Sri Lanka tonight? All right. Brian, I'll get to your question in a little bit. And Steve, your question's up next. A few minutes to go, Lon, then you could get off to bed here.
I got people calling me, and I got to make phone calls when I'm done tonight. Maybe somebody's sending me cases.
I know that feeling. I know that feeling. You just get done the show, and all of a sudden it's like, now you got to get on the phone. I know that feeling.
Yeah.
For what we do, it never ends.
Yeah, it is. It you know, it's funny. Sometimes I'll be sitting here and there's nothing going. I was like, oh, what the hell? And then all of a sudden I get nailed. And I don't have enough time.
Health. The importance of health. Blue Health. The experience of what it means to be healthy. Because taking care today leads to an even healthier tomorrow. Blue Cross and Blue Shield of Mississippi. It's good to be healthy. It's good to be blue.
Forged from the fusion of sweet honey and spicy spice.
Translation: Wendy's new hot honey chicken sandwich and biscuit are here.
A molten sweet heat cast atop an inferno of flavor.
Translation: a bold hot honey sauce drizzled over Wendy's spicy chicken.
And topped with Applewood smoked bacon.
What he said.
Venture to Wendy's for the new hot honey chicken sandwich or breakfast biscuit.
Choose wisely. Choose Wendy's.
Participating U.S. Wendy's hot honey chicken biscuit only includes crispy chicken and hot honey sauce and is only available during breakfast hour.
Oh, God.
Seems like every time I get involved with writing a book, that's when everybody's calling me.
Dude, I fully get it. I fully get it. PBR, play nice. Play nice. Gotta erase that comment. Don't make me shake my finger at you, PBR. You've been doing good all night, buddy. River Dogma, I hear you've signed up for the Vegas party. Tell me, is this rumor true? April 22nd and 24th, we are having the SOR fan party in Las Vegas. I think we got about 39 people signed up for that so far. We got a bunch of great guests from this show who are coming on in to hang out with all of you. It's all at the Golden Nugget. And I'll be there on Thursday, and I'm leaving Monday. So it's going to be a wild one for old Davey. But we are going to have a very, very cool time in Las Vegas. And, good job, River Dogma. I'm glad you're going to be there. Obi Flett is going to be there. I know there's a bunch of you guys who are going to be there. We're going to have a great time. We really are.
And I haven't been out in Vegas. Oh, my God. 30 years. My
It's
God.
changed a little bit.
It always changes.
You know? I haven't been to Vegas in 6 years. And it's I'm curious to see how much it's changed.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah, it's been. I used to when I was steelworkers. I was working with the steelworkers. I was out there every couple of years and for conventions and stuff.
Yep.
And
yeah, I agree. I agree. I used to go down every time Guns N' Roses had a residency. I was going down. They did that for a while, and damn it, then Axl brought the band back together, well, at least half of them, which I don't mind, but kind of killed the fun. Now my $100 ticket to get in on the floor is now worth about, I don't know, $1,000.
Is it?
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it would be interesting. I do look at some of the hotels that are going up, and it's completely different than what it was.
Oh, for sure. I want to say a big thank you to Stephen, Michael, Ed, and Tim for the amazing super chats tonight. Thank you so much. Really helps out what we do on this show on a nightly basis. And don't forget to support Lynn Wallington's Rebellious Ufology and my Canada's Great Unknown on YouTube. We'd greatly appreciate it. Here we go with the next half hour. We pass the halfway point of Spaced Out Radio tonight. Good to have you all with us. My name is Dave Scott. Very much appreciate you tuning us on in. Want to remind you that if you have missed portions of this show or others, check out our free archives at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do old Davey the favor, hit that subscribe button. Our website is spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read Shirky Poo's Newswire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on TikTok at Spaced Out Radio. For the final time tonight, we introduce Lon Strickler from phantomsandmonsters.com. He's here as a monthly guest for Strange Days as we continue on with the new era of this part of the show, and we're always glad to have Lon here. You can find any of his books on Amazon. He's got 9 of them out there that he has written about all strange encounters and sightings. Lon, welcome back.
Good to be here, Dave.
Let's start off with Steve's question here. Have you seen a possession or an exorcism?
I have been in the presence of 2 exorcisms where the Catholic rites were used by a priest. I witnessed that. That was interesting. It's not like you see on TV, but it's interesting nonetheless. I've had some cases where they weren't possessions, but they were pretty close to it. They were pretty malevolent attachments where we've had to work for several days to have them removed. I've also been involved with cases where a priest would be there and they end up running out the room, running out the door and taking off, and because it scared them. So yeah, I've been involved with a few cases over the years.
What's it like to see that go on?
Like I said, it's not like the movies. When you look at the victim, the person who's possessed, the way they contort and do this and that, it's not necessarily something where it couldn't be, let's say, faked. But I believe, and look, I'm not a very religious person. I was basically there at request and was able to go there with a few other people and witness it. But it's interesting. It really is an interesting it's interesting to watch. But I'll be quite honest with you, as far as doing what they do, if I get a case where I think that is what's needed to remedy the situation, then I will have someone call someone in from the church. I mean, that's out of my realm. But no, I have seen it.
Awesome. All right, let's move on to another question. This one from Brian. All the talk of Indrid Cold makes me wonder, Lon, what's your thoughts on Valiant Thor?
Oh, I think it actually happened. I think this guy showed up. I don't think people knew who he was. Supposedly he was helping the government, was involved in some projects at the Pentagon, was here for a number of years. I have talked to people who swear the guy was here. Once again, I talked to Raymond Keller, who looked into the case. He's actually involved with a book now that he's writing a bit about Valiant Thor in that book. I think there's a lot of truth. There may be some truth to it. Was he extraterrestrial? I don't know. Could have been.
So you're still not convinced he was from Venus?
That's what they say. Raymond Keller, Dr. Raymond Keller, he's the expert on Venus, but he believes it was a true thing. So I'm going to go by what he says.
All right. Supernor wants to know if you have any knowledge of light beings.
Now, when you say light beings, what does that refer to? Does that refer to spirits, or?
I think that's where Supernor is going.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, and there's a lot of degrees of what you want to call light beings or spirits or entities, energy. It's all energy, earthbound, residual, some that go in and out. I mean, there's a lot of degrees to it. But yeah, I have had knowledge of it. I think I can sense spirit energy. I mean, I am intuitive. It's interesting when I come across spirit energy, I start seeing colors, it's bizarre. I know, but I start seeing certain colors that I recognize as spirit energy within my midst, and that's when I can usually tell there's something around me.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Do you get the chills? That's spine tingling, or you just feel the energy?
I just see the colors and then I start feeling the energy. The colors are pink, like a pink and like a sea foam green. Those are the two colors that I associate with spirit energy. It's in my mind's eye, but I sense it. It's hard to explain, but that's how I sense it.
Well, you know what? For me, I always, when I'm around something and if I feel a ghost around, I feel it very heavy on my shoulders. Like it's draining, it's heavy. I feel like I'm being pushed to slouch over. Do you get that as well?
I don't get that, but I know people that do. Some people have a variety of physical indicators that something's around them. Sometimes it's like a heaviness on their hands, on their shoulders, sometimes down their back, like something's hanging onto them. Some people, I know one person whose legs go totally numb when it happens. It's weird, but it's different for different people.
How do you cleanse yourself from that energy? Because it is, it can weigh a lot on you. If you all of a sudden you get into the channeling or you get into the communication aspect, and the darker the spirit, the heavier it gets.
You just got to learn to protect yourself. There's several ways of doing it. I use a golden or white light that surrounds me and extends out past my auras. It's a visualized energy field that I use. There are some incantations, you want to call them incantations or such, that I use as well. But I'm usually prepared. There have been times early on when I wasn't prepared and I paid for it. When you get a physical or a psychic attack from something, that has happened on occasion. And see that, it's interesting. Many times when I have been involved with clearing spirit energy, oppressions or attachments, it's usually for someone who decided to go ghost hunting and didn't protect themselves. You got a lot of these people that go running out into the graveyard and start invoking spirits, and they get more than what they bargained for. And when they come home, they notice strange things going on, and that's when I get called. And I've had that happen countless times.
Oh, very sure. Very sure. I mean, out of all the ghostly encounters that you've had, do you look at the spirit encounters as you're dealing with dead people or people on a different dimension?
Life force. The remainder of the dead, that is energy. And if it's earthbound, that's when they stay within our Earth plane. Many times there's a lot of different reasons. Many times they don't even know they're dead. They're stuck here for some reason or another. They can't move on, or it's impossible. They don't want to move on. Sometimes they do not want to move on. It's all free will. Sometimes you got to coax them into doing it, but you can't push them. You can't force them to leave. And there have been times when I have been involved with a clearing to where I literally, and look, some people may think I'm full of it, but I'm very big believer in angels. And I have used angels to clear. And that's normally what is invoked by me to help move these energies into the next level. Now, where they take them, I don't exactly know. I've got theories, but yeah, that's what I sense when I'm doing a clearing. And like I told you earlier, I mean, it is when you do that and when you help someone like that, that's probably the best feeling you're ever going to get.
What's your opinion on Ouija boards?
Oh, I stay away from them like the plague. I had an encounter with one of those things when I was in high school, and they're bad. I mean, and for the most part, the reason they're bad is people use these things and don't clear them. And whatever is there, whatever shows up, a lot of time attaches to the board. I had, I'll tell you the story if you want me to, but I was in high school. I was at a party at a friend's house, and they had the Ouija board out. I'm sitting on the sofa, and there's a bunch of people in front of me on the coffee table playing with this Ouija board, and there was one guy across from me who I was watching, and this guy was looking at me like, I mean, he was watching me and giving me the evil eye. I mean, I didn't know what was going on. I kept watching. Now, I wasn't using the board. But all of a sudden, this guy jumped over the table and attacked me. And when they started pulling him off of me, he calmed down and said he didn't know what happened to him. So, okay, well, he apologized and everything. But as we were sitting there, just talking, not using the board, we started noticing the planchette on this board starting rising into the air.
No.
Yeah, and a bunch of high school kids were in this club basement. We all run to the other side of the room by the bar. It must have been about 15 of us. And this planchette was hovering above the board about 3 foot. And we're just watching this thing. Everybody's freaking out. And all of a sudden, this thing slams down onto the board and the legs blow out of it. And you've never seen so many people haul up the stairs as fast as those kids did. I was one of them. That's the first time I ever witnessed anything like that. So I swore up and down that I wouldn't be fooling with a Ouija board. It's funny. My dad owned a hobby shop. We had a family business, and our family business was hobby shops and electric trains and stuff, And my dad used to sell those things in the store, the Ouija boards. I just said, hell, I don't really have anything to do with these things anymore.
One of my favorite Ouija board stories, we weren't using a Ouija board. We were using a spirit board.
Mm-hmm.
And on this night, my buddy had a 2-bedroom log cabin style home on 10 acres. That's where a lot of my experiences happen. And we were sitting around using this spirit board, and all of a sudden he looked over to his wood stove, and it's burning. Like there's flames in the wood stove. So he says to the kids and to us adults, did anybody start this? And we were all like, no. And he goes to the kids, did you start it? And they're like, no, you don't allow us to touch the fireplace. And I'm like, okay. So all of a sudden the planchette, we still have our fingers on the planchette. The planchette starts moving as he's doing this, or talking about this, and his fingers aren't even on the board, right? And so here I am, and his fiance at the time looks down at the board and says, "Did you start the fire in the fireplace?" It goes to yes. Right? And we asked why, and it spelled out, "I was cold." That fireplace, it was 10:30 at night. That fireplace hadn't been lit since 9:30 that morning.
Wow.
And here we were.
Yeah, some of the Ouija and spirit board stories are pretty bizarre, but there's a lot of them. There's something about those boards.
Absolutely. You know, they're weird. Would I use one again? Yes. I don't see a difference between them or pendulums or my magic 8-ball that I have right here. I don't really see. And trust me, the last couple of weeks, and Super Duke from World Bigfoot Radio, he can attest to this. We've actually had to smudge this recently because it was giving real negative answers.
Oh, yeah?
Real negative answers. And we actually smudged it a couple times to get it going and get the engine back started. You know, but, I mean, hey, you got to do what you got to do.
I don't recommend any type of divination unless you know what the hell you're doing and what the consequences are. But yeah, there's just something about Ouija boards. I had enough that one time, and I've heard way too many stories involving them that, that's just not for me.
No, I don't get it. I don't get it at all, my friend. I don't get it at all. I try, but, it is what it is. I would be remiss in not having a strange days without talking, as we got about 6 minutes left, with you about some dogman bipedal canines. Any new cases around those?
Yeah, we're involved with one right now. We got a call from a family in outside of Akron, Ohio, that had been dealing with us for the past decade or longer, about 12 years. In fact, it was a case that was written by Linda Godfrey in one of her books years ago. American Werewolf, I think the book was. And anyway, the sightings have continued on since then, and really nobody...
Hi, I'm Randy, and this is Dave. We're the founders of Bombas, the most comfortable socks in the history of feet. So comfortable, we sold and donated millions of pairs. To sell and donate a lot of socks, we became obsessed with comfort. We reinvented the sock from the ground up, adding comfort innovations along the way. It worked. People tried them, loved them, told their friends about them, helping us sell and donate millions of pairs.
Try them now at bombas.com/comfy and get 20% off your first order. That's BOMBAS.com/comfy.
Finding the right person for the job isn't easy. Just ask someone who hired their personal trainer as a caterer.
All right, folks, let's keep this line moving. You there with the tongs. Picking up one Duchess potato at a time will not cut it at my catering table. Drop and give me 50.
But if you've got an insurance question, you can always count on your local Geico agent. They can bundle your policies, which could save you hundreds.
Okay, this is what we call the wild mushroom and asparagus dip, and press. Come on, let's get those plates above your heads.
For expert help with all your insurance needs, visit geico.com/local today.
Has helped this family at all. So, and there were some sightings nearby there years ago. So, we've been talking with this witness for the past 2 weeks, but it's interesting. When my team started getting involved with this case, they sensed, and I have a couple psychics who are on my team, and the witness didn't tell us that they were having spirit activity in the house, pretty serious spirit activity. And there's one individual on my team, she picked up on it. So we're going to take care of that first. Incrementally, we're going to get that taken care of before we start working with the upright canines. But yeah, there's this stuff's going on. And from what we're being told, these things are not good beings.
Really?
There's some evil involved with it here, from what we understand, and we'll see. I mean, and I'll keep keeping up on it. I'm putting updates. I did put the initial story up on the blog, but I will be putting updates as we go along. But I'm just like any case, it's extreme confidentiality, no actual locations, but hopefully we can get this resolved for them, but it's going to take some work.
No, it is going to take some work, and I could just imagine how tough that is. I mean, when you have that much evil or demonic entities coming at one person, I mean, how do you even protect them?
Well, like with any case where you've got malevolent energies in location, you've got to, first of all, find out what they've been doing over the years that has been exasperating the activity. And apparently this client of ours has somehow locked in this being into this home. The being is a previous owner. And I believe this previous owner had encounters with these upright canines as well, and that they were aware of it. So we're looking into a little bit different here. Like with a lot of cases, we go into a lot of different aspects where there are different aspects of the paranormal involved. Here we got spirit activity and a cryptid, and I have been involved with cases where cryptids have been attracted to spirit activity. You have heard of Bigfoot and upright canines or dogmen being attracted to cemeteries and areas like that. And I think that's why they're hanging around there, because the activity of the woman who used to live there is pretty active and pretty strong. So, that may be the root of the problem, but we're going to try and figure it out.
In regards to Sasquatch Dogman hanging out at cemeteries, do you think that they are almost protecting the spirits?
Could be. Yeah, it could be. I mean, I think they're attracted to it for some reason. Is it anything to do with protection? I really don't know. But they do seem to be attracted to these areas. Is it because people show up and they're fascinated by the people being at the location? I don't know if that's it or not. But I have had several incidents reported to me at cemeteries where people have seen these things along the edges.
My goodness. My friend, we have 90 seconds left. That's it. In your first strange days. Very impressive. Very impressive tonight, Lon Strickler. Thank you so much for being here with our audience.
Well, I'm glad to do it. And, of course, we all miss Butch. Butch and I were together. Well, we were together for many years, and we did a lot of cases together. And I will miss him, but, I'm more than happy to take the reins on this, and I appreciate you asking me.
Do me a favor, 1 minute to go. Tell everybody where they can find Phantoms and Monsters on YouTube, website, and your books.
Yeah, you just go to phantomsandmonsters.com. That's the blog. We do a daily update on cases and sightings and reports. The radio show is Phantoms and Monsters Radio. Just put Phantoms and Monsters into the search. It'll come right up. It used to be Arcane Radio, but we've rebranded, and we're doing some improvements there. And my team is Phantoms and Monsters 14 Research, and we look into all kinds of cases involving the paranormal. And we're keeping busy. But look, you guys have reports and such, just contact me at Lon Strickler at phantomsandmonsters.com.
Well, Lon, we're very glad to have you part of the Spaced Out Radio family now. And anything we can do to help you guys out at phantomsandmonsters.com, let us know. And we appreciate you, Lon Strickler, of course. Coming up next on Spaced Out Radio, we're going to enter the swamp with another great story from Swamp Dweller And then the fedora-wearing John Hudson will join us for the Unbiased UFO Report. We'll be back on Spaced Out Radio after this. Great job, Lon. Great job.
Okay, Dave.
You were fantastic. And we'll do this again in a month from now.
Okay. Keep in touch.
I will. I do have to talk to you about next month. I'm not sure if we'll actually have a show. I am flying home from San Francisco and UFO Con, and it all depends how quickly I get out of the airport in order to make it home for showtime. But I'll let you know, okay?
Okay. No problem.
All right, buddy.
Take it easy.
You too. Bye-bye. All right, let us wait for the fedora-wearing John Hudson. Cecil, how you doing? Or is it Cecil? Are you a Cecil or a Cecil? All right. Let's bring it on down. There's no attacking Thomas Fessler in our chat room, please, and thank you very much. And you know what? I'm a good friend of Thomas's. He's a good friend of mine. And I will not put up with any type of attacks on people in our chat room. All right? You don't have to like him for what's going on, but there are two sides to every story. And Thomas has his story. I have my story. And you guys have heard from the other people on their stories. All right? I don't like talking about this stuff, but there is no attacking people in my chat room at all. At all. All right? Those other shows have friends who listen here, and we have friends here who listen to other shows. Just remember, there's always different sides to the story. And you might want to check the research on it. That's all I'll say. I'll be right back. I'm going to get some water. Or another glass of iced tea, one of the two. Dave's coming back. Dave's coming back. All right. I'm back. Yeah, you can still insult Justin Trudeau, of course. Bombshell bomber, of course. That's allowed. So, it's okay. That's okay. We're all good. Kaysen, did you have a good chat with my chair? Just curious. Body Tech, good morning to you. Huh. There's the fedora. Look at him. And he's got light on him, too.
Yeah, a little bit more light to that.
How you doing, buddy?
I'm doing good. How about yourself?
I'm good. Throat's a little ratchety, but that's okay.
Good.
Yeah. Got about 30 seconds here, John.
Cool.
Did you find that story I was telling you about?
Yeah, no, actually, I almost was late because I got sucked into that interview that Cambrian. It was actually really good. I was really enjoying it. Something I realized.
Yeah. All right, hold on a second here. We're going to go in 10 seconds. John, I'm going to mute you.
Would you like to connect with us? Head to spacedoutradio.com for all your latest show info. Now, back to Dave Scott and SOR.
Here we go at the third and final hour of Spaced Out Radio tonight. My name is Dave Scott. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us. We really do appreciate earning your listening ears wherever you are on this beautiful planet we call Earth. Hi to everyone listening in on our terrestrial affiliates around North America and digitally on TalkStream Live, Revolution Radio, and KPNL. All of our archives are free. Join us at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Just do old Davey the favor, hit that subscribe button. The Desert Clam has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. Kabotched. Kabotched is your password. Use it wisely, Space Travelers, as the Clam sets the password each and every night right here on Spaced Out Radio. Our website is spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you, including rocking out to Bumblefoot, reading Shirky Poo's Newswire. Check out our swag as well. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and now on TikTok at Spaced Out Radio. It is that time of the night once again where we head into the swamp, get deep, dark, and dastardly with the man they call the Swamp Dweller.
Hi, Spaced Out Radio listeners. This is Swamp Dweller. It's time for your nightly dose of spookiness on the show. If you have an interesting encounter or a spooky story that you would like to share, be sure to submit them in at swampdweller.net. You can also find our YouTube channel at youtube.com/swampdwellerreads. Now, let's chill out, relax, and together, let's enter the swamp. So my name is Colton, and I'm a regular guy from a regular small town, and I'm a family man. The year is March of 2020. The entire nation was going through a very unusual, odd, and what could be characterized as downright scary time. I doubt that I need to go into what I'm talking about. I will just say that the word lockdown is no longer a term used just for prisons, even though that's kind of what it felt like at times. My story starts maybe 10 days into the initial lockdown. Let me start by saying that I live in a very conservative state. We have very few restrictions on firearms or your ability to use them. Our state has what is commonly referred to as the Castle Doctrine, which in a nutshell means if you are on my property and I deem you as a threat, I am within my rights to use deadly force to protect myself, my family, or my property. I will also mention that we have one of the lowest violent crime percentages in the nation, which is why I choose to raise my family here. The reason that I note that before anything else is to impress you on the feeling of safety I have felt here my entire life. Not being safe in my home, or even my own town, has never crossed my mind, That is, until about 3 weeks ago. So it was a Friday night. I would say that it was any normal Friday night, but that was not the case. After 9 p.m. there is nothing, and I mean nothing. Not a car, not a bike, not a person, heck, no noise at all. It's like The Walking Dead minus the zombies. This night we had broken out the board games and Clue was the decided upon game. About 25 minutes into the game, my 16-year-old son bumps my shoulder and asked, "Hey Pop, did you hear that?" I replied, "Hear what, son?" He said that he heard something like a tapping sound, but between me, him, and his 2 sisters and Mom, there was quite a bit of talking and laughing going on. Our house is 2 stories. The family area is in the basement level, which is where we were. Upstairs is the front door and the entry of 3 bedrooms. Maybe 5 minutes later, I hear the same sound that my son was talking about. He says, "See, Dad, look, there it is again." I told him that this time I heard it too, and that I would go up and have a look. I went up the stairs and started towards the front door when I heard a very loud knock. It was like a pounding more than anything. It was coming from the front door, so I decided to go check it out. I stopped in my tracks for a few seconds as I noticed the upstairs lights are off and it is quite dark, even though I know I left them on before I went downstairs. I decided to peek through my blinds to see who was there. My front porch light was tripped, so I knew something had to be there, but I could see absolutely nothing. I do have a security system that has a front door camera, so I retreated downstairs and grabbed my tablet to have a look at what triggered my light and pounded my door. I went back 10 minutes to about the time my son heard the first noise, fully expecting to see some kids messing around. The light came on and the camera recorded the tapping sound, but there was absolutely nothing visually there. The light goes off after 60 seconds of no movement. A few minutes later, the light again comes on and the system again recorded the tapping, but still, there was nothing there. 3 minutes later, the system is once again activated, and this time the pounding is happening again and again. But there is again nothing visually there to clue me in as to what is happening. I thought maybe there was an issue with the video, so I activated all 6 cameras and ran a diagnostic. Everything was seemingly running perfect. My son asked me if he could try something. I said sure and handed the tablet over. He reminded me that these cameras do have a night vision capability. He rewound the video, and then he put on the night vision setting. 2 seconds before the light came on, the camera caught a disturbing image. It was a shape that was kind of transparent and moved without touching the ground, as if it was floating. It moved very quickly and very suddenly. It covered my 50-foot front walkway in about 2 seconds. My son asked me, "Seriously, Dad, what is that?" I told him I had no idea and took the tablet from him and started forwarding it to see the second tapping noise. Now once the light comes on, the night vision feature no longer works, but the light goes off, the feature works again automatically. As I'm forwarding the video, the light goes off, and to my amazement, the thing is still there at the door. It is standing still. Then after 3 minutes or so, the light trips on and you hear the tapping once again, but nothing appears on the camera. After 60 seconds pass, the light goes off, and sure enough, whatever it is still there. Again, it is still as a statue. Another 4 minutes go by and the light comes on and the pounding is heard once more. I waited the 60 seconds, and when the light goes off, the thing is not there anymore. I then activate all 6 cameras on the live feed and pin on the night vision setting. I almost dropped the tab. There in the backyard, looking through a window, is that thing. By this time, my whole family are looking at the screen when all of us realized that the window this thing was looking through was right in front of us. The girls were agitated and scared, and I'm going to be honest, I was a bit worried too. I've never experienced or seen anything like this outside of a horror movie. I gave the tablet to my son and told him to keep an eye on it and let me know if that thing moves. I went into the closet, grabbed my Benelli 12-gauge shotgun, and headed to the back door with my son close behind. I asked, "Is it still there, son?" He replied, "Yeah." I told him to disengage the auto feature on the security light so that when I opened the door, the lights wouldn't come on. I quickly opened the door, stepped outside, and looked out the left of my window. My son said, "Dad, it's looking at you." I yelled, "Who are you, and what do you want?" "It's moving toward us, Dad." Now, I'm not crazy. When I realized I couldn't see this thing with my own eyes, I'm not going to fire my weapon indiscriminately with no visible target. I stepped back inside and closed and locked the door. "It's at the door," he said. My wife is now down the hall asking what in the hell is going on. All I could say is that I had no clue. Then once again, there was tapping on the door. At this point, all I could do was muster a very weak and probably not very intimidating, "You are trespassing. Leave now." Then the automatic security lights come on. All of them. I whispered to my son, "I thought you turned those off." He replied that he did, and that the setting was still off, yet all of them stayed on for quite a few minutes. When the lights finally turned off, the thing was no longer at the door. None of the cameras could see it, and it was apparently gone. All 5 of us stayed up all night watching the cameras. Once the sun came up and my girls went to sleep on the couch, the rest of us...
Progressive presents Forced Metaphors about bundling your home and auto.
In sports, 3 goals is a hat trick. And when you bundle your home and auto with Progressive, you get a hat trick of great savings and round-the-clock protection. So you might be thinking, wait, that's 2 things. A hat trick is 3. But in this metaphor, great savings counts as 2 goals, and so does round-the-clock protection. So it's like 4 goals, and that's more than 3. It's basic math.
Forced Metaphors. Presented by Progressive. Bundle and protect today. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates. Discount not available in all states or situations.
Forged from the fusion of sweetness and heatness.
Translation: Wendy's new hot honey lineup is here, featuring a bold hot honey sauce on Wendy's chicken. Try the sandwich or breakfast biscuit today.
At participating U.S. Wendy's, hot honey chicken biscuit is only available during breakfast hour.
Couldn't manage to do the same. We just sat there, talking and wondering, rewatching that same 25 minutes of video feed over and over.
Another freaky story by the Swamp Dweller, and we love him around here. You can, of course, find more of his work on YouTube at Swamp Dweller Reads. So youtube.com/Swamp Dweller Reads. Great stories once again. But now it's time to get into the UFO world as we put on our fedora and bring in the fedora-wearing John Hudson for the Unbiased UFO Report. Mr. John Hudson, good to have you here with us. How you been doing?
Doing pretty good, Dave. Glad to be here. Thanks for hanging out. Do appreciate it. You know it's late for some of you, so it's nice for you all to hang out and listen in.
Absolutely. You're having a little bit of a microphone issue there.
And let's see here. Let's do. Hold up. I got it.
You got it? He's figuring it out. This thing is literally held together by duct tape.
Yeah,
good Canadian product. Much better. Thank you, my friend. All right.
Yep.
All right. It's always good to have you here, John. Your knowledge is always very much appreciated on this show. So thank you so much for joining us once again. And another great piece from you this past weekend, working with Gemma Jade, Thin Lizzy, and Big Willie on the After Hours show.
So much fun.
Oh yeah, sounded
really,
like
really enjoying that. Yeah,
sounded like
no.
Too.
They're just it's just nice when you get to work with nice people, you know. But yeah, no, I mean it's been to me this is actually it's a very interesting and also very challenging time to be invested in this topic because I don't know how many of you have heard, but there is this thing going on somewhere else on the planet that's bad and is ugly, and it's taking up almost every single mainstream news data feed. Full stop. It's astounding. And so it's hard to go, right? But there are some very, very interesting things going on. Like, for example,
before you get into that, please. I don't mind spending a couple of minutes on that. Look, we don't talk a lot of politics on this show, but I mean, it is difficult when the entire world right now, John, is wondering what is going to go on. Are we going to be ending up in some sort of nuclear confrontation? We don't know really what's going on. The media is playing propaganda on both sides. It is a very nasty time to be on the internet or on television these days.
Yes, absolutely. There is also a magnificent opportunity to really revel in the amazing nature of the human being. I mean, the stories that are coming out. I mean, you know, okay, sure, throw out half of them if you're, you know, sure, throw out 2/3 of them if you're that paranoid, right? But, you know, even if 1/3 of them you look at, I mean, these are some incredible stories of strength. It's some incredible stories of courage, some incredible stories of standing up for what you believe in, and whether you're wrong or not, if you believe it, more power to you, you know? And so, you know, to me, to me, the way I'm seeing different countries come together, the way I'm seeing different groups come together, I'm seeing, you know, some real, you know, unity in certain areas, and you know, I don't know. I like I said, I really kind of see it as an opportunity to really kind of revel in some really phenomenal humans doing some really phenomenal things.
Well, you know what? Let's just excuse me. Let's just hope that cooler minds prevail very, very soon, and we can finally, you know, kind of get back to where we were and just hating each other. It's a little bit more easy than watching the world potentially going to blow up.
Yeah, if anyone's feeling particularly melancholy, may I recommend your favorite drink and that song by Sting about the Russians loving their children too.
Yes.
It'll give you something to think about.
I hear you, my friend. I hear you. All right, what do you got for us tonight?
So, who is our favorite UFO person in the whole universe?
I'm going to say Anjali must be back in the news.
Anjali. You know, and you know, let me just I always try to say this before I say anything about her. She's a very unique cat. She's got a good spine, and she will talk to you. She will listen to you. She will be polite. She will be disagreeable, but she will be very kind about it. And she's handling a lot of this very well. And so I think that's something that always has to be stated, because you know, even in this interview that I'm about to talk about, they spent some time talking about this very topic, about her demeanor and how different it is and how important it is to the dialogue and what we're all going through. But basically, you know, the guy over at Truth Seekers, Steve, I don't know why I can never remember how to pronounce
Steve Cambion.
Cambion. Steve Cambion did a really, really good show. I'll provide a link to it. It's actually, you know, I'll be honest with you. Sometimes his shows aren't my thing. This was fantastic. And you know, he had the author of that other film, the What About Lou, on with him, and he was dialoguing with this other researcher whose name escapes me at the moment. I believe Craig was his name. You know, basically, and it was a good dialogue going on between them. It was actually a very interesting exchange between them, because what became clear at one point is that the two guys on the podcast and the researcher who was chatting with them, they were basing a lot of their conclusions on his research, but they had come to a different conclusion than he had, and they were surprised by that. And then they actually went through the process of reconciling it between the two of them, which was actually a really interesting thing to listen to. But what I wanted to really get to is the kind of the highlights of what popped out through this whole process, because what's happened is that while there has been some confusion about the actual identity of the landowners, there is a belief now that the real people involved, because it does appear that there's two sets of individuals.
Well, let me stop you right there.
Please, go ahead.
Because I think what we have to do is for a number of our listeners, we have to take them back to understand what this Anjali person is all about.
That's a good point. Yeah, please. Go ahead, Dave.
Well, that's kind of your job here. I'm interviewing you, but
I'm kidding. I'll do it. So she is, like I said, she's fun. I have to admit, some bias in that on a personality level, I like her. her background as an intelligence officer has checked out. It was some time ago, and it wasn't. I don't think she put in 30 years, but she's her all that really kind of checked out. So her background appears to be what she said it was. But essentially, what's happened is that this one researcher has been able to actually interview the landowner, and the gentleman tells a very, very different story with a couple very interesting highlights.
That's Charlie Weiser, by the way.
Charlie Weiser, yeah, correct.
The idea was behind this that Anjali said that a few years ago she went over to these people's houses, and this gentleman named Wayne took her into a tunnel in the mountain by his house, and there was aliens in there. And she was going to bring an entire board and had Wayne's permission to bring people in there to make this contact with extraterrestrials that were living underground.
I'm sorry. Yes, but I'm sorry. So what I was trying to get to is that so she's been telling this whole story for some time, and everyone's been skeptical, but there has been very little data one way or the other. It's just been basically on her word. And now what we have is a interview with the landowner, where the landowner basically goes through and very methodically lays out the event in contrast to how she lays it out. And there are stark differences between the two. And both of them are aware of this. And they've actually discussed it between themselves, the fact that they see this so differently, and they have not been able to come to any consensus between the two of them.
So what are some of these disagreements?
Well, so some of the more mechanical ones are the fact that, there was obviously questions about clarity of mind and whether there were any drugs involved. And while she claimed that there were none, what Wayne basically said was that there was a cannabis oil that was used, and that it was not a cannabis oil that he felt was significantly impactful. It's very confusing as to what he meant by cannabis oil, because typically that would be like a CBD oil, which would have no intoxicating effects. But there are people who refer to oils as other things that do have THC in them. So it's unclear to anyone whether it actually had any psychoreactive elements in what she consumed. But it is being brought up as a point of contention that essentially she said that there was nothing consumed, and Wayne very quickly said, oh no, actually we'd all taken this cannabis oil and then we went on a walk. Right. And he actually says that he felt that her experience was influenced by the oil. Wayne actually says that. So there is significant reason to mention it. I think it's hard because I think a lot of cases people are seeing things while they're in relaxing areas doing relaxing things. And so they're likely to be a little bit intoxicated. And so just because you are a little bit intoxicated doesn't mean you didn't see something. However, if some of the parties you were with actually believe that what you saw was the direct result of something you consumed, that might be a data point that, someone might care about. So as far as, it goes on, basically what Wayne says is that he doesn't contest the digging of the tunnel directly or the location of the tunnel directly. He contests the complete existence of the tunnel in entirety. Claims that there was never any tunnel. He has no idea what she's talking about at all. He claims that there was no contact with any sort of entities or aliens of any sort. Furthermore, he says that the actual night of the event, she said nothing to him or his wife about the tunnels or the contact. Did not mention it. One of the greatest things about this is that there was a health check called by the daughter to the location for Angelique. And so there was an ambulance that was actually sent out, and they did a check on her. It's unclear exactly what they did, but they did some sort of a welfare check on her. And so we have the records, or I shouldn't say Steve has the records of this event. So we do know that she was on the property at a given date, and everyone agrees with that data point, right? Now, the one of the other things that came out was that at one point when they were debating the details and their deltas between the details, that basically he offered to sell her the land, all of it, like sight unseen, for $10 million, and said you can do whatever you want with it. And what was interesting was that instead of just saying no or saying that she'd look into it, according to him, she made some offhanded comment about the fact that Bigelow would pay twice that for much less land with much less activity on it, or something like that. Like, so
right. John, I'm going to get you to hold on right there. We're going to continue the Anjali talk and the strange coincidences. I have a couple questions for you as well, John, regarding this. The Unbiased UFO Report with John Hudson returns right after this on Spaced Out Radio. I'll be right back, dude. Hi, Low Pro. How you doing?
God, this story's gotten complicated fast. Yeah. I really think that if you're going to invent a story, out of the kindness of your heart, you should invent a simple story. Very few details. Not only does it make it easier to, keep track of it, but it's kinder to the rest of us because, it's a lot of work to learn your stories. And, yeah. You can't pattern weed ever. She's always complicated. Yeah, I guess any good story is.
Sorry, buddy. I had to blow my nose.
It's all good, my friend.
All right. Race fan, we'll get into that momentarily. What's with the new lights up, John? We can see you.
Oh, just been playing with them a little bit. So, people can complaining, so that'll make it a little better.
Almost time to move back into the garage, isn't it?
Oh, yeah. When it warms up a little bit, yeah.
Warms up? The snow is melting here, man.
Yeah, well, it's just been, it's better now. It's been a little cold in the garage, so that's why I've been having to stay out of there.
Oh, yeah, it must be like 50 degrees in there. Holy cow. Just shrivel my tits up. Yeah, massive false flag with Russia threatening nuclear war. That's right. Come on, Hiveley. Don't fall for the propaganda on the other side either.
Hey, did we get printed off somehow? Yeah, we did.
What is that?
Oh, sorry. I was just looking at one of the other stories I want to talk about. Started playing by accident.
Bob Berkins, you're drinking too much Brute 33 again from Grandpa's aftershave area. All right.
Gross. Trying to remember to send you the text so you can actually click on the links instead of a picture that you can actually click on links with. Apologize, I kept doing that to you.
Oh, I didn't mind. Siraj Kumar Shastri, this gentleman out of India, he's a guru, and he sends me best wishes and prayers every night at this time. It's awesome.
Interesting.
I love it. Alien Critter, how you doing? I post things sometimes. Welcome to the show. A big thank you to Tim, Ed, Michael, Stephen, and Thomas for the amazing super chats tonight. It's a wonderful way to support what we do on this show on a nightly basis. So thank you very much. Here we go. We rounded third. We're heading for home tonight on Spaced Out Radio. Good to have you with us. My name is Dave Scott. Appreciate you each and all tuning on in. Want to remind you that if you missed most of this show or others, check out our free archives by going to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do old Davey the favor. Hit that subscribe button. Our website is spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read Shirky Poo's Newswire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on TikTok at Spaced Out Radio. We continue on with the fedora-wearing John Hudson and the unbiased UFO report. We're talking about Anjali. Now, this is a lady who claimed that she met this guy Wayne and his wife Trish, and they took her to this mountain on their property in California, went into this cave, and there were aliens in there. But now, Wayne and Trish are like, there was no aliens. Anjali was tripping on some devil's lettuce oil, and we don't know what the hell she's talking about, and we want nothing to do with this. That's pretty much the gist of it, right there, John?
Yes. And let me just point out that I have had a lot of friends who have played with the devil lettuce, and none of them have ever.
Finding the right person for the job isn't easy. Just ask someone who hired a lounge singer to be their office receptionist.
Hello, this is Mickey Marquis, and you've reached the office of Doug & Associates. Thank you very much. Catch me Tuesday nights at the Hotel Johnson. Hello?
But if you've got an insurance question, you can always count on your local Geico agent. They can bundle your policies, which could save you hundreds.
Doug & Associates, this is Mickey Marquis. Hello?
For expert help with all your insurance needs, visit geico.com/local today.
Forged from the fusion of sweet honey and spicy spice.
Translation: Wendy's new hot honey chicken sandwich and biscuit are here.
A molten sweet heat cast atop an inferno of flavor.
Translation: a bold hot honey sauce drizzled over Wendy's spicy chicken.
And topped with Applewood smoked bacon.
What he said.
Venture to Wendy's for the new hot honey chicken sandwich or breakfast biscuit.
Choose wisely. Choose Wendy's.
Participating U.S. Wendy's hot honey chicken biscuit only includes crispy chicken and hot honey sauce and is only available during breakfast hour.
Told me that it brought them aliens. As just, a side.
Well, hey, aliens can pop up at any time, man. Aliens can pop up at any time. But Anjali is actually defending her notion and her side of this compared to everybody else.
Yes. Oh no. She still completely stands by her story, and she basically holds that that Wayne is covering it up, and that she doesn't claim to know why, but hold on a second, excuse me. She doesn't claim to know why he's covering it up, but her claim is that it did happen and that he's making it up, and her claim is that it did really happen, and so you have him basically saying that he basically believes that what happened to her was either was essentially hallucinations brought on by the oil. What was interesting was that that became kind of the predominant hypothesis in the conversation for what might have triggered what she saw. And then the researcher, Craig, who actually did the work, he was the one that came back and said, no, that's actually not what I believe. What I believe happened is that she had other things happen to her, either through meditation or through other drug adventures. She had other events, and she conflated them in her memories. And that's what he thinks happened.
You know what? I mean, John, could it be as simple as this? Okay, the way the UFO crowd took off after this story and the way Anjali kind of made a spectacle of it, it would be very easy to see this Wayne and Trish to all of a sudden say, look, what the hell is she doing? What is she getting us into? We don't want any part of this. It would be very easy for them to say that.
Oh, no, you could even have a ton of people advising them to do that. Don't ruin your lives. Let her ruin hers. I have this story about this guy that came to this guy, Dave Scott, with these fairy pictures. It's sad.
Mm-hmm. But, I mean, could that be what we're talking about?
Absolutely. I mean, no. I mean, that's the rotten part about this is that for this to be in any way, shape, or form conclusive, you have to take the word of these individuals, which may or may not be a wise move, but then you have to ask, why are you taking their word over anyone else's, right? Because what you have here is you have conflicting observational accounts, right, with no direct evidence either way. And there is evidence that that they were all at that location on that evening, so that's good. I mean, it's really nice. In the future, everyone should call welfare checks for paranormal events. That was actually a very helpful thing to have happen. That became a great checkpoint for the whole story. Yeah, I mean, but here's the thing. Okay, so if someone were to ask me personally, do I believe her? No, I don't necessarily believe that what she believes happened, but I am in agreement even with Steve, who said that he believes that she believes what she's saying is true. And I do. I believe that she believes that she's being honest. Now, I don't know what actually happened, but I do believe that she's being honest. So to me, it's a question of how did she come to believe this? And did she come to believe this because of some real event? Or did she come to believe this because of some other event? Either way, it's actually probably something we would like to know. And let's face it, when you look at all the stories that you hear from experiencers of screen memories and memory manipulation and all that stuff, is it really that far-fetched that both of their memories were messed with? I mean, it's very hard to tell. It's so frustrating.
It is totally frustrating. All right, we got to move on here, man, as we continue on with the UFO report. Ross Coulthart, Ralph Blumenthal, two reputable reporters, journalists, investigative journalists, meeting for the first time.
Well, first off, I was surprised. Like, I would have thought those two would have run into each other at some point in their careers. But I guess geography being what it is. But no, first time them getting together, and they did it on a YouTube panel. I didn't get a chance to actually get terribly deep into it. And to be honest with you, these kind of interviews, kind of like to listen to the first time, like as a geek, like I just like to enjoy it, sort of thing, instead of kind of tearing it all apart. So I really encourage everyone to go check it out. But what I think is so interesting about it is it what we have is we've all talked and lamented over the years about the fact that there weren't many, like, not just real journalists, but good journalists that were paying this story, its dues. And now we've reached a point where we have multiples doing it, and we have enough of them doing it that we have the time to take two of them and put them on a pedestal like this and get a little excited about the fact that they're talking for the first time and make a big deal out of it, and which is kind of cute, but the point is that we finally have enough good journalists that we can actually do that, right? I mean, it's like, what a change, right? I mean, it wasn't that many. I mean, look, you're far more sensitive to this than I am, right? I mean, it's like, how many years were you just hoping that at some point we would get just 3 or 4 of them that could take it seriously,
Well, I agree. The problem that we have with the journalism right now is we have a bunch of editors who don't want to run these stories, number one, and number two, we have nobody in North America on the television side outside of the bow tie wearing Tucker Carlson who wants to actually delve into this either. But he asks a bunch of fluff ball questions about it.
And I have a solution to this, and I offer a challenge to everyone listening. What we need sponsors that want this story sold. So what we need UFO products. So everyone's got to go out there and invent and then we can sell UFO products. Because this is the problem: is that what sells on these shows is things about toilet paper and napkins, because that's what the advertise. You know what I'm saying? It's like, this is very much a consumer fed problem in many ways. There's no advertisers begging for UFO content.
Well, I understand that. But let's get back to the point. Ralph Blumenthal is a Pulitzer Prize-winning journalist. We have Ross Coulthart, who's an Emmy Award-winning journalist out of Australia. And these
not just that. I would say that what you have here is you have 2 people who are actual peers in the best sense of the word. In that you have 2 gentlemen who both, after having a good career, decided to use up some of their credits to explore a very fringe topic, right? Did so by writing very, very, very impactful books, and both ended up being at the forefront of mainstream media content in each of their respective countries that vastly changed this entire story. So, I mean, it's I call it cute, but the truth of the matter is that, I mean, those guys are as close as you get to Titans, at least, for the present moment, right?
Well, I agree with you, but the point that I was getting is, we have 2 major journalists here who know what they're talking about, who know how to cover a story. What's the overall outlook from them regarding the UAP story?
Well, it's not that they I don't get any sense that they're ready to go anywhere beyond the data they're reporting, which is I really admire in both of them. But what you have is you have and I can only really point this out for Ross, so I apologize, Ralph. But what I see in Ross is I see such classic, just nose to the grindstone reporting being done for this topic. And that sounds silly, but in many ways, that's what's so amazing about it. Is that what you have is it'd be like getting a professional baseball player to come play some other sport and take it seriously, right? I mean, it was I don't know. To me, it's hard to kind of put a nail on. But what you have is you have them looking into very specific details. So, for example, you have Ross trying to follow up on the atomic weld that the Navy architect reported to him as being discovered. Trying to track that down. Classically, I believe we have a lot of cases where data gets reported and no one follows up on it, or follow up is very minimal. And what you have with Ross and certainly with Ralph Blumenthal with his books to the nines, you have just dogged researchers that just dig and dig and dig. And to me, one of the reasons why I like listening to Ross is that he often finds things that I didn't, or comes to insights that I didn't think of, and it's like, hey, wow, that was cool, like good thinking.
We got to move on here. Elizondo talking Roswell. We mentioned this briefly last week too.
Yeah, well, I just wanted to make sure we brought it up because I know it was a story that meant a lot to you, Dave. But yeah, so the UFO Garage guys, once again did this great story. I just want to mention it again because I'm so proud of what they did, and just that'll be a fun thing to mention because I know the Roswell stuff means so much to you, Dave, and I want to make sure everyone heard about it. Basically in their interview, he actually gives I don't know if you can call it an update for Roswell, but he gives unnecessary data about Roswell, and basically it infers that there was some event, infers that there was more than one crash location, and makes a rather derogatory comment about the ridiculousness of needing that much gear to pick up a weather balloon. So he dances very carefully, but he is trying super hard to play those lines, right?
I loved it. The funny part. Funny part about it is Ben and Joe. I talked to Ben after that from UFO Garage. He didn't even know the magnitude of about what Elizondo just said. He was so jaw dropped. Awesome. He didn't know how to respond. It was phenomenal.
That's awesome. That's perfect. That's beautiful.
My friend, we got to say goodnight here. I know we're going to cut it a story short, but we could save that for a couple days from now. Another great report from the fedora-wearing John Hudson on Spaced Out Radio.
Thank you, sir.
All right, let's get to Shirky Poo's news, who has us all set up tonight. A New York family is suing a Staten Island cemetery after a massive 900-kilogram headstone fell and struck and killed their matriarch. Yep. Apparently, Elvira Navarro, 53 years old, and her son Anthony Rosales were groundskeeping and tending graves at the Baron Hirsch Cemetery in October of 2021 when a stone monument toppled over and fell on top of her. Navarro died later that day of her injuries at Richmond University Hospital. Her son, according to the lawsuit, was working beside her and witnessed the event that killed his mother. The physical and psychological effects on him are severe physical pain and mental anguish, as described in the lawsuit. The suit seeks unspecified damages from the Baron Hirsch Cemetery Association, alleging they failed to maintain the site property. The mother of five, Navarro, and her son had been hired by a third party to work at the Staten Island burial ground. Details of the lawsuit do not specify where in the cemetery the deadly mishap happened. Either way, that's a bad way to go. Bad way to go. How'd you like to be this guy? He's been having troubles breathing for years, and they finally figured out why. A New York man actually was having some breathing issues out of his nose, and he was pretty stunned when doctors found a half-inch long tooth growing inside his nasal passage. The 38-year-old had reported to the doctor after experiencing breathing difficulties for several years. After an examination, it was found that the man had a deviated septum, I know what that's like, and bone-like growths in his nose. The man's face looked normal, though, which prompted a follow-up. Oral and maxillofacial surgeons conducted a rhinoscopy, worst pain ever, a nasal exam done via tube, like an instrument with a light and lens, whereupon they discovered a hard, non-tender white mass poking through the floor of his right nostril. Well, when they checked it out even closer, it ended up being an ectopic tooth, which is defined as having a grub grinder in an abnormal place. The condition is exceedingly rare and normally entails teeth sprouting up in the jawbone under the gum rather than into the nose. A condition that affects 0.1 to 1% of the population, according to a 2019 study. Yep, they pulled the tooth out, and now he's doing okay, and he can breathe fine. A Nova Scotia couple, whose 3-year-old bulldog gave birth to a litter of 8 puppies, say they immediately noticed something pretty unusual about one of these cute little newborns. Her fur was dyed green. Trevor and Audra Mosher of Middle Sackville said they had brought their dog Freya, or thought their dog Freya was finished after delivering her 7 puppies, but while they were cleaning the canine mother, she started to go into labor again. Freya delivered an 8th puppy, this time encased in a black sack, contrasting with the other translucent sacks of its older siblings. The couple said they initially feared the puppy was stillborn, but they rushed to clean the newborn canine when she started to move. We started to dry her off, and then we noticed she was green, and immediately again thought there was something wrong, so we Googled it. My puppy is green, what's wrong? And apparently it's very rare, and it happened a few times all over the world. The rare discoloration, which has been documented before, is believed to be caused by light-colored puppies coming into contact with the green pigments from bile while in the womb. It's still a cute puppy. Very, very healthy. All right, and finally tonight, a Virginia sheriff's office is thanking a goat, for assisting deputies during a foot pursuit with a fleeing suspect this month. The goat named Gracie helped 2 deputies flush out a suspect they were chasing back on February 13th. Yeah, so sometimes help comes in all shapes and sizes. The sheriff's office wrote on their Facebook page, Captain Scott Barker said Deputy David Parnell came across a suspect while investigating a domestic assault case, and after telling the suspect he was under arrest, the suspect fled on foot, leading Parnell to chase him through a fence line and across a field. During the chase, Barker said a goat from the property then joined the deputy. While Parnell and the goat reached the next line of the fence, the goats continued through the fence in front of the deputy and chased the man into the woods. As Parnell surveyed the situation, the goat and a deputy on the other side flushed the man out of the woods. He was taken into custody. Barker said the goat was returned to its owner after the incident was resolved. Authorities have yet to provide the names of the subject or whether or not that goat will be officially deputized. I think it should. Put it on the payroll. Here's your thought of the day. What cryptid scares you the most and why? Science Bob, the one I cannot see coming through the portal that just opened behind me. Terry, Dogman, it's a freaky werewolf, dude. Nothing good about it. Thin Lizzy, Chalupa Cabra, because I want some chalupas, and it takes them. Jessica, the rake is pretty creepy. Michael, oil pit squids, because they are very real and right out of an X-File. The Wendigo creeps out Karen. Uncle Dale and his power stash, possibly resurgent ex-late-night talk show host with frightening reputations. Ooh. Chris, Yif Kings, they are royalty, royal pains in the butt. Let's go to Ron. Wendigo, because being taken over by a cannibal spirit and hurting the people you love would suck. Scott, just look at the fear the cryptid entity Justin Trudeau has brought. Oh, yeah. Oh, that scares like 36 million people, Scott. Be careful. You almost gave me a heart attack there. All right, and we got time for one more. Nicole Sackage, my doppelganger. Thank you to everybody participating in the Thought of the Dave. Thank you to Shirky Poo for the news, John Hudson for the UFO report, Swamp Dweller for another spooky story, and Lon Strickler coming in for Strange Days. We got Mr. Ron Bumblefoot Thal rocking in the background with Little Brother is Watching. Bumblefoot is the official music of Spaced Out Radio, rocking us in and out of every single show. Get your horns up for the guitar god himself. Special thanks to everybody listening in at home, at work, in your cars, wherever you may be. Thank you to everyone in our chat rooms tonight. YouTube, Twitch, LGAV, Revolution Radio, Spreaker, Facebook, and on Twitter at hashtag Spaced Out Radio.
I know you're out there somewhere.
Remember, this show is copyright by Spaced Out Radio and SOR Media Ventures Limited. Thank you so much for choosing to share your evening with us, because together, my friends, we own the night. Mr. Bumblefoot, we need a favor. We need you to take us home. Yes, the Woo Train has docked for the night. But soon, my friends, we shall ride again. Your seats are always available. Your tickets never expire. And if you want to bring a friend, we've got room for them too. Good night.
This is a St. Jude moment.
Ashton was a high-level athlete, and in an instant, your world flips. And your healthy 5-year-old competitive cheerleader has a brain tumor. And the physician was like, your best option is St. Jude. Receiving treatment that was life-saving for our child, and knowing that that treatment would be of no cost to us, was a huge weight lifted.
Learn more at stjude.org.
Our modern lives depend on industry. From the steel and cement that build our cities, to the electricity and fuel that power our world. Carbon capture and storage can remove more than 90% of CO2 emissions from essential industries like these. That's why ExxonMobil is deploying this technology, helping lower the carbon footprint of many everyday things. From the roads we drive on to the devices we rely on. It's one of the ways we're advancing climate solutions. Learn more at exxonmobil.com/solutions.